Welcome to the ripple effect of love for dads and families. Today, for episode 95, we are celebrating you. Why would we want to celebrate you? Because you are the most important person. And when you celebrate your successes, whether they be small or they be big, it's super important to take the time to celebrate. You don't need to go out and buy a car every time you celebrate. What you might want to do is just say, "Great job. You did a great job. You accomplished this. This was important for you." We've been talking about building your emotional resilience and building that emotional resilience so that your children can easily learn from mimicking you. Maybe I haven't talked about this before in these episodes, but children learn from mimicking their parents. Think about it. If you're a person who's in construction, I mean, all your young children want to do is take the hammer, knock, and they might be knocking down on walls. You got to be careful. You want those plastic hammers, right? However, if you're more a teacher like I was, my daughter would play school teacher, right? So it's really interesting how they learn from just observing us and mimicking us. So that's why it's super, super important to celebrate our successes because this feeds some dopamine in our brain. And when we feed dopamine to the brain, we want to create more of this. Who wants to create less things to celebrate? I don't know anybody that do, but we all want to create something that brings success in our family. And sometimes we might look at the whole picture and be overwhelmed because we're not seeing our end goal yet. However, it's important to look at those mini successes. So your progress over your perfection builds the foundation for happier and stronger family. Who wants a happier or stronger family? I do. I think everybody does. And the importance of that is that we focus on what it is that brings us joy and celebrating. So what success do you have from this week? What's one moment you're most proud of? I know it's Wednesday, it's not Friday. Why would I be celebrating success on a Wednesday, not a Friday this week? Just because. Because it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. We are in a society where, anyway, in North America, we're on Friday. It's like, whoo, let's have something to drink and relax and snacks. Okay. And we just decompress. But what if we're doing this many times a day? Wouldn't that change when we get to the Friday? So why not take a moment right now, take a nice deep breath in, and notice where your efforts are making a difference and keep going. Now, this brings me to another thought. Sometimes we're trying something new and it's not happening. So, if it's not working out, we're not seeing results. So, if you've tried something for a week and you have zero results, something is just not working. Either you need to adjust something in what you're doing or get some help to support you. I'd be happy, book a call and pressure free to see what it is that needs to. Sometimes it's just a tiny little tweak, and sometimes it's just not the right strategy for that person. And it's important to acknowledge it because we're human beings. Each individual is different. And because each individual is different, we need to use different strategies. Some strategies I used for my son did not work for my daughter, and vice versa. And in the classroom setting, I had many students that worked really well on a certain strategy, and then there were a few that didn't work. We had to take time out together to figure out what would work. The best way I figured to do it was to ask them, what do you need? What would help you? And if they have no ideas, I give suggestions because sometimes children haven't experienced other things, so they don't know what to choose and what to do. So being careful of how we are and how we react with the children that are around us is super important. And some of the dads here are divorced, and yes, it's a challenge. Some of you are able to continue a beautiful um, child centered relationship with your ex and yourself and your child or children. But in some cases, that's not what happens. In some cases, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of tugging, there's a lot of he said, she said, and it makes it very challenging. So if at one point you were able to just self-regulate in the midst of that chaos and just say, what is what is the I can't say that. Isn't that interesting? What is it that is for the greatest good of my child right now? Not myself, not their other parent, me, them, that child. What is the best action for their greatest good? And if you need people who support you on your journey, I know a few people, a few coaches that are really good at creating a child centered divorce. And that means that you put the child first, their needs first, so that they still feel loved and they don't feel guilty about, about the divorce. So they don't feel guilty about, because children will often feel guilty that the divorce happened and think it's their fault. Maybe they got angry a few minutes before it was announced. Maybe, there's a really many different reasons. So, on that note today, keeping it really short because I have an important call to take and write down what moment are you most proud of this week? And let's celebrate that together. Write it in the chat, and I will see you tomorrow for a bit of a longer episode. So, take great care of yourself and keep putting your best foot forward.